The following is a presentation of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League. Well, once again, everybody, Andrew Rogers here, the host of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. This is episode number 15. It is great to be back with you guys once again. Happy August long weekend, everyone. Yes, it is here. Man, this year just seems to be flying by, doesn't it? Now that this pandemic is almost it just keeps on going. It just, you would think that the days would just drag on and that everything would be a lot slower, but yet here we are and it's practically August and it's wild. But hopefully everybody's doing well. Back with you guys once again. Thank you very much for joining in, and we appreciate you being here. It's a great episode we got lined up. Yes, the Western Ontario Super Hockey League, for those of you who don't know, we got a 16 league. It's starting in October. Lots of good things are happening. Alverson Killer Bees. We got the Elora Rocks, Langton Royals, Strathroy Jets, Stratford Fighting Irish, and the Tillsonburg Thunder. It's going to be a great 16 league, and we can't wait to get started in October. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a great guest lined up on the podcast today from the Elora Rocks prospect Alex Utley. Had an amazing junior career with the Wellesley Applejacks. Spent some time with the Elmira Sugar Kings as well. He's from Elmira, and we really look forward to talking with him. I'll introduce him here shortly. If you guys want to follow along with our socials, by all means, please do. We are on YouTube, obviously, with all these podcasts. Make sure to subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Here are all the links. As well, guys, make sure to check out the Western Ontario Super Hockey League website. It's a phenomenal website. It's being updated daily. You can check out all the latest happenings. All the team links are there as well for all their social medias, and you can check it and see what's been going on with them. But like I say, guys, it's just great to be back with you guys once again. Episode number 15 of the podcast. And we look at Alex Utley, Elora Rocks prospect. Again, unbelievable junior career with the Wellesley Applejacks. He put up 242 points in 119 games played with them over a span of 5 seasons. He is a remarkable talent and one that is looking to bring his offensive production and dominance into the Elora Rocks this upcoming season. So we introduce him now. Alex Utley from the Elora Rocks is on the podcast. We are pleased to be joined this week on the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. This is episode number 15, joined by Elora Rocks prospect, hopeful, Alex Utley. Alex, it's great to have you here, man. Thanks for doing this and welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew.
We really appreciate you coming on, dude. This is obviously a brand new league. There's a lot of room for optimism, a lot of excitement there. I guess, how did this all kind of come to fruition for you in joining the Elora Rocks organization?
So it started, I played a little bit of senior last year, and I was actually away. I was in Scotland. I was overseas, and I started hearing like a bunch of guys talking about this new league, and up until that point, I hadn't heard about it at all. And then I started seeing some of the social media posts. I'm like, I remember playing against this guy. I remember playing against this guy. And then got texting some buddies and they're like, yeah, like, I think we're going to go try and play. And then it was just looked into it more. And then I knew Rich and Mitch both through ball hockey.
Right.
So I messaged them and just got some information and really liked what I heard. So I'm like, yeah, let's give this a shot.
Now, so did you know of them like much? So like how much familiarity did you have? Like, I mean, is there familiarity with like the other people that have been announced, at least for the Rocks organization? Because you talked about that playing in the senior circuit, that there has to be some familiarity there.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of guys, and even on the other teams as well. Like a lot of the guys that I've played with or played against are on other teams, but just on the Rocks alone, like played a lot of hockey with Sean Pickering and Kyle Soper. Right. And then there's a couple other older guys from Elmira that are local that I've known my whole life, like Spencer McCormick, Luke Blesh, those guys. Right. And then other guys just throughout my time with Elmira and the junior C loop, I almost know everybody on the team. So, or at least people who have committed to the team. So it's going to be really exciting to get to camp and see what it's like.
Do you think that'll provide a challenge, or do you think that'll give you an edge? Having, I mean, there's a lot of guys that could say that where they've said, okay, I know a lot of guys that played against them before, played with them. Like, what is your stance on that? Do you feel like that's going to be of an advantage or a disadvantage?
I think it's just honestly will make everyone better. Like it's especially the guys that are on other teams that you've played with. It'll just be more competitive. Like you're not going to want to get beat by that guy.
Right.
And vice versa, you're really going to want to beat that guy. And then even maybe there's some guys on other teams that you've had rivalries with and other junior hockey loops. So to be able to get a chance to play again and just get some competitiveness out, I think it'll be really fun.
Now, yeah, you mentioned being away, like obviously playing again. I mean, that for you, you've had a huge long layoff in terms of when you were on the ice last. I guess what is it that you miss about it the most?
Um, and what I miss the most, honestly, is just have an excuse to get to the rink and then hang out with the guys.
Right.
Like especially now that a lot of us, I mean, almost everyone's in a career. You have a tough day at work and then you get to leave and go to the rink and play a hockey game with your friends. There's nothing about it. It's a good stress reliever and good way to stay in shape because it's been hard to do that just sitting around in lockdown for the last 2 years.
Right. And obviously, yeah, you spoke about playing in the senior circuit. You last laced them up for Milverton four-wheel drives. In your first experience of senior hockey, we'll get to the playoff part of it in a minute. Talk about like what it was like playing against the competition, and I guess that transition from junior to senior. What did you find to be the biggest difference?
I was actually surprised with the difference. There's a lot of guys that maybe they aren't as fast as they used to be, but they're so smart and still have the strength and the skill hasn't left. They just slowed down a bit. So like even as a first year senior, maybe you have a little bit more of the speed, but then you're just going end to end with your speed. And then these guys are just passing around you, making it look stupid. So it definitely was a bit of an adjustment period. Yeah, it's a bit of a different style of play, but there's definitely still a lot of skill. And it was fun to get back into hockey. I wasn't sure if I was going to play senior at all, and then last minute decision and ended up being totally worth it. So I'm excited to get back into it.
So again, judging by your experience there and the reviews that you give it, does that add a little bit extra fuel now that you've been away from the game for a while to get back into it and hit the ground running essentially?
Definitely. Being away from hockey for like 2 years, it just makes you want to play more and see what you can do. A lot of people might be a little rusty that first skate. It'll be a bit of a shock, but it's definitely more motivation to go out and just prove that you can still play at a decently competitive level and be a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely, there's a whole lot of excitement. Obviously, this league has provided a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, no doubt. So it's going to be fun come October. Let's go back in time a little bit here. I remember this very vividly because I was right in the thick of it. March 9th, let's say 2019, I think 2019. That was the last WOA game. Ripley and Minto in Palmerston, unbelievable game. I was there, had the privilege of watching, and little did I know that come Friday, when the next scheduled round of senior hockey games were supposed to happen, the world essentially would shut down for a couple of years. You guys were just gearing up for that A final against Tavistock. Can you take me back, I guess, to when, like, to that moment when you found out and like what the reaction was? Like, was it one of devastation? Was it one of disappointment? Take us back.
It was definitely pretty disappointing. Especially we went on a bit of a run. We were pretty mediocre all year. It was hard to get a set lineup
Sure.
For all the season games. And then we started to figure it out in playoffs there and won the first 2 rounds. So everyone was just starting to feel good and feel like we could win that single A championship at least, and then didn't get the opportunity. And I know a lot of guys, Tavistock and Wellesley in the junior C loop were just starting, just about to start that series too. And
Right.
the disappointment of them, especially the guys that was there last year. So they were super disappointed. We were too, obviously in Milverton. But it's a nice thing about senior, I guess there's another year ahead.
Right. No doubt. Yeah. And I mean, obviously they got their own thing going on there and they're ramping up for another season. So definitely kudos to them. Let's talk about your junior career, because it is outstanding, dude. Honestly, like just having a look at some of the numbers, they're off the charts. You obviously, split some time. Most of your junior games are from Wellesley with the Applejacks, which you had put out outstanding numbers, and then you split time with Elmira. Let's talk about the Elmira circuit. Like, what did you enjoy most about playing there, and what were some of the highlights?
Yes, I was only in Elmira for a short period of time, but it was still a great time when I was there. The guys that were on the team, they were great. That was my first taste of junior, really, and they made it fun. And being from Elmira, being able to play a couple games for the Sugar Kings for that first half of my season there. It was super cool, like going out for the home opener and hearing them say like from Elmira, Ontario, and then saying Alex Utley. That was pretty cool. It's fun to play for your hometown team. So it was short, but I definitely enjoyed my time there, and it helped me set me up for the success that I had in Wellesley once I went back down there.
Yeah, so take us. Do you remember a whole ton from your first go around with Wellesley, Sorry, your first season there? Do you remember a whole ton from that experience?
I do. It wasn't great. We were very, very young team. My first 2 years, actually, we were very young, and we didn't have a ton of success. But I feel like that kind of is what helped set us on the right path for later on, because everyone was like, "Oh, this isn't very much fun. Let's figure out a way to not lose anymore." I think that's what kind of helped keep like the younger core together, and then we ended up having guys see that we're starting to build something, and more guys came, and then we worked up our way to the end of my career. We're definitely a lot more competitive.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously, it appears to me like you took on a leadership role the older that you got, and the more time that you put in there. So 21 points in your first go around with Wellesley, 32 in the next one, and then boom, up to 75. What changed? Like, was it your approach to the game? Was it players you were playing around? What do you attribute to that jump in offensive production?
So the second year was when I dropped down from Elmira, and I started to be like a lot coming, like playing in the junior B level and dropping down. I just felt more confident, held on to the puck a little longer. And at the very end of that year was when we started picking up a couple more guys, one of them being Sean Pickering.
Right.
So we started to build some chemistry. So then for that third year, I had the confidence back, and I already had some games played with Sean. And then we just kind of hit that spot right at the start of the third year. And that third year was when we really started to compete at the top of the league as well as the two. So it was like,
right,
we started to get more strength through our lineup, but opened up more space, and I took advantage of it.
Yeah, obviously 25 goals, 50 assists. Were most of those assists to Sean, or would he tell you otherwise?
Oh yeah. Usually he just floats around in the slot, and I throw one out front, and he usually doesn't miss. So definitely
right. Hey man, primary or secondary, an assist is an assist, and a point's a point. So then your fourth year, you're named the assistant captain with Wellesley. It's the first time you held a letter. What was that? What did that mean to you in terms of a leadership role?
It was super exciting. We had at the core that I talked about earlier, that was probably our last year together, most of us, because a lot of us were 97s and you could only take 4. So that was the last year before they'd have to go down to the 4. So we had like 11 97. So we knew it was like one of our last chances with the group.
Sure.
So to be able to put the A on and represent that group that had been there for a while, it was a good time, and it meant a lot. Wellesley's a great town, small, but you usually get a good amount of fans out, and they love when the Jacks are good.
No doubt. And obviously, yeah, like the production continues in your fifth and final year with the Applejacks. You're named the captain, which is an unbelievable responsibility for any player. Anyone will tell you that is the ultimate kind of compliment as a player to receive that captainship. And not only that, but you put the captaincy, and you put it to full worth, putting up your highest total, 98 points on 45 and 53. Just an unbelievable last year. Kind of, can you summarize that last year in Wellesley in a little bit of a, how it kind of all came, from the C to the year to the playoff run?
Like points wise, it just kind of came. Like we had such a good team that from first line to fourth line, everyone could score. So it was impossible for teams to just like zero in. So like the teammates did so much towards that. The way that whole season panned out, like team success wise, was awesome for me. Like if I could only win one of my 5 years of junior, to be able to win in my last year, it was the best way to go out.
Right.
We still had a lot of guys that I'd played with for a couple of years, and the whole team came together. We picked up a bunch of guys right near the end, and it was like we picked up those guys, and there was a lot of hype from picking up a bunch of guys at the deadline, and then we lost our first game. And it was after that we went on to win like 10 of our next 12 games, and then it was like, okay, we can actually do this.
Cool.
And then we just caught that momentum going into the playoffs, and we're able to win.
Yeah, no, super, super exciting, dude. Honestly, and like I say, congratulations on the tremendous success of your junior career. That's unbelievable, dude. And your first taste of senior hockey with Milverton, and obviously you're going to have a ton of success. I can already kind of feel that. And not only that, but if you look at some of the names that Elora has dropped, it's very exciting to think of the possibilities there. Like, who are you looking forward most of playing with that you may not have played with before?
The first name that I think of for sure is Luke Palacio. He's older than me, but I've played a ton of ball hockey with him, and the guy's the most creative ball hockey player that I've ever met. And just even when I was younger and he was playing his junior hockey, just watching the games, he's a really skilled hockey player. And I've never got a chance to play ice hockey with him. So I think that'll be super cool. And then like Clayton Holscher is another great talent. Played with him in Elmira, and then just a couple like exhibition games against him when we played Mount Forest in preseason, and it was fun to compete. So those are probably two guys that I think will be cool to play hockey with.
Absolutely. No, that'd be tremendous talents. We're speaking with Alex Utley from the Elora Rocks here on the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast, episode number 15. Can you take us back? Like, I mean, there has to be a memory that sticks out from you from your time with the Apple Jacks that may be funny, may be humorous. Like, I mean, I'm sure you had tons of great memories, but is there one in particular that sticks out to you?
Yeah, we did have a ton of great memories. I don't know if it's pretty random, but we just had one game. We were known in Wellesley, especially for my first couple of years, of just like no one really liked coming to play in Wellesley. We're a bit of a rougher team. The roof leaked. There was just a couple of things like that. But we had a game, we were playing Tavistock, and we were in the middle of play, and a fan just jumped the glass and started running on the ice.
Oh my God.
And he had like mittens on, and he legit dropped his mittens like hockey gloves. And one of the Tabby players, I don't remember who it was, but he just comes up to me and he just goes, "Only in Wellesley."
Oh my God.
I was like, well, definitely a little weird, but we loved playing there, and a lot better things than that happened.
All right, that's a good memory. I mean, I appreciate you sharing that with us. That's awesome. In terms of, so like, obviously you could say, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but playing in Wellesley, you obviously learned a whole lot about being able to play in front of a community, and obviously Elmira as well, playing for your hometown team. One of the things that this new league is preaching is community involvement and playing, and playing for the community and being part of it. Like, how important do you think that success is going to be to the Elora Rocks this upcoming season?
Yeah, that's a big part of it for sure. We obviously want to go and compete and play hockey, but there's obviously a role to be played with the community. I've heard a lot of the talk about like having home games sponsored and for different events, and I think that's a great idea, because the hockey's not just for us; it's for the fans, it's for the people in the town. And Elora is a great town. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to come out, and if we can play hockey and at the same time support a community, I think that's a great thing. We had a lot of that in Wellesley. Like, I remember going to the public library and reading to the kids.
Cool,
we would go through the Santa Claus parade. We'd go to the schools. Like, we did a lot of community stuff in Wellesley. And then later that night, you'd hand those kids tickets, and later at that night, you'd see them banging on the glass like an hour before warm-up even started. So like, it's awesome to do stuff like that, and it definitely pays off for the hockey team.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a big part of the team's success any way you slice it this year. No question about that. So on the grand scheme of things, I mean, hockey's probably all you've known in terms of from a young age, started young, that sort of thing. Who would you say, like, if you had to look back, that would be like your inspiration, or your, like, who do you owe your hockey success to? Like, who could you say, you know what, this guy paved the way?
There's a ton of different people. I had really great family. My dad was always talking about hockey, big Leaf fan.
Sure.
My brother played hockey. My cousin was a lot of Evan Bueller. A lot of people know him. He was a guy who kind of like, I wanted to always play hockey, like right from novice, like chose his number and everything.
Right.
And he was a pretty good hockey player, played a lot of years for the Siskins. So as far as more of a personal connection that got me into hockey, that was definitely one.
Right on. And, again, so coming into Elora, obviously you bring a ton of skill set offensively. There's no question about that. I mean, you can be humble and that's all good, but obviously, yeah, you have a lot of offensive production that you can bring to this team. Do you think part of it is maybe some of the leadership qualities as well? Because obviously to gain any letters in junior hockey, that speaks to a testament more than just a player on the ice, but a player in the dressing room and everything else. Like, do you think that'll be important for you to bring to this Elora Rocks team?
Yeah, definitely. I think I can be a leader. Gonna have to show up and give it everything I have for sure, because there's a lot of really good players there. It's going to be really competitive, but it definitely, if you take more of a leadership role, it helps you on the ice, because to be a leader, you got to give it everything you got. And if you're doing that, you're going to create chances for yourself. So definitely something I'll look to do. And I'm really excited to go to the camp, because it's going to be pretty competitive. I'm pretty sure of it.
And last question I'll ask you, and this is pretty much just a general one. At the end of the day, there are many, many different reasons why any player would want to choose to play hockey, that they'd want to be involved in any sort of organization, juniors, majors, whichever. What is it that you look at hockey and say, you know what, this is why I play the game. This is why I love it so much. What would you say is the biggest reason as to why you would say that sentence?
Sounds cliche, but like the friendships you make, like if I look back on all the years, not even just junior, like minor hockey on, like the amount of friends that I've made from hockey, it's awesome. Like you still see people every weekend that I wouldn't have met if it weren't for hockey. And that's definitely the biggest benefit to it. Like obviously none of us are going to be in the NHL next year, but you still play because
Absolutely.
you can get that competitiveness out and also make great friendships and make the most of your weekends in the meantime. So that's definitely the biggest thing.
I like that answer, man. And obviously, yeah, from the friendship point of it, I completely understand that. Mitch and Rich are unbelievable people. Mitch got Rich Wigmore from the Elora Rocks organization, just unbelievable people, great friends of mine, and they're truly wonderful people that are going to be in charge of a world-class organization. Alex, we really appreciate you coming on. We've been talking with Alex Utley, Elora Rocks prospect, right here on the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. We'll make sure to see you down the road, dude. We'll have you back on again, and we really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast is brought to you by Joe's Diner. Come and enjoy Joe's all-day breakfast, located at 155 Erie Street in Stratford. Call 519-272-9933. Yes, once again, we want to thank our sponsor for the podcast, Joe's Diner out of Stratford, Ontario. We really thank them for supporting the cause here on the podcast. We want to thank Alex Utley for coming on and speaking to us. It was a great time talking with him, and we'll make sure to talk to him again down the line. Once again, as always, we want to thank you, the viewer, for watching. This has been another edition of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast, episode number 15. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to get all the updates and as to when the podcast will be available. Also of note, the new time for these podcasts is 12 o'clock every Saturday. And make sure that you guys pay attention for that. I am your host, Andrew Rogers, signing off on another edition of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. Enjoy the rest of your long weekend, everybody. We will see you next week. Until then, take care.